How do you know whether or not your copywriting is moving the needle or just collecting dust? Now, we do this with key performance indicators, or KPIs for short. Every campaign needs some kind of KPI or metric to measure to make sure the copy is actually performing well and generating the result you want. For some campaigns, it might be revenue, leads for another, web traffic for another. The problem is a lot of copywriters don't even have KPIs to begin with, or the client might not have one. And then really marketing efforts just become a shot in the dark. You don't actually really know truly how well they're doing and what's contributing to what. Now, on the flip side, if you did have some metrics and KPIs to measure, then you very clearly know whether an ad, a blog post, whatever it might be, is actually driving some bottom line. Stick around in today's video because I'll be going over the top 10 copywriting KPIs you and your clients should be measuring. We're going to begin with the biggest and most obvious, which is sales and revenue. Now, if you're doing any kind of direct response copywriting, a lot of the times it's going to be for generating revenue and sales. If the product you're selling and advertising is $250, you place 1,000 orders with that direct response campaign, that's $250,000 of revenue. And it's probably the easiest campaign KPI to measure because it's very straightforward. If a copywriter writes a sales letter for you, it generates X amount of revenue, and then you test a different version against the control, then it's very obvious how much it's generating and what's better. If we look at the sales letter for Wisebox, an online course, it's $497. And because of this, they could easily make a test where they up it to $597, $997, and then test how that goes and how it affects revenue. So it's very straightforward, but also something a lot of people don't talk about is the average sales price. The average sales price, or cart value, you can think of it as, is how much an individual customer spends on your business. And this is really important when you have many different products and services, or maybe you offer pricing plans because every purchase may be a little bit different. So Resurge, which is a really popular affiliate offer, is a great example of this. Now, they're a health product and they have 3 different offers you can buy. There's a 1 bottle, 3 bottle, and 6 bottle offer. Now, all these of course have their different prices, and it'd be really important in this case not just to measure the sales and revenue because that's super simple, but look at the average sales price. So for example, in Resurge's case, they could actually tweak the copy, the offer, the calls to action, elements like that, and then they might see that one of the other plans actually sells more than the other, and if they sell more of that, they're going to generate more revenue versus maybe just selling that 1 bottle plan and not as many. Secondly is leads, because not all copywriting projects are just trying to drive straight revenue or sales. Some of them are actually just for lead generation, demand generation, and they're trying to get prospects information so they can remarket to them in the back end. 65% of businesses say that lead gen is their biggest struggle. And this is because people just don't give up their information freely and very easily, especially nowadays after things like Cambridge Analytica and all these different kind of scandals and things. People are really private with their information. They don't want to release it. And so when you're trying to sell them something or collect it, you have to be a very good copywriter and know the tactics to actually do that. Normally, you're going to offer a lead magnet, so it's a free resource like an ebook, a report, maybe it's a template, checklist, cheat sheet. It'll depend on your own business and your audience, but you offer them that in exchange for their information, so it isn't just a one-sided deal. So check out the real estate marketing company LeadJolt. They actually offer a free video case study that you can download in exchange for your information, and then what they're able to do is actually remarket to you in the back end and promote their services and their content, build up trust, and actually drive revenue. And this is really easy to measure. All you have to do is launch a campaign, see how many leads you generate, and then start doing some tests and variants to see if you can actually increase that. The third KPI I want you to measure, and this is a bit of a general one and it'll apply to different things in different ways, is your conversion rate. And this is the total number of people that convert relative to the total amount of interactions. Let's say you're trying to drive sales for an e-commerce company and you get 1,000 users and 3% of people check out. So that'd be your 3% conversion rate. KPI number 4 is click-through rate, or CTR for short. This is essentially the amount of people that see something like an ad, maybe an SEO listing, and then click through to the page. And it's really important when you're doing SEO, organic marketing, email marketing, anytime you're really relying on someone to click an ad, open an email, anything like that. And rarely are you ever going to measure just one KPI. So maybe if you're measuring CTR, you're probably going to be measuring conversion rates and revenue and leads like that too. So make sure to stack different KPIs on top of each other. And as I mentioned, I think CTR is amazing in email marketing because you can track how many people open an email, how many people click through to that product page or whatever you're promoting. Now, click-through rates can be as high as 20%. They can be as low as 7%. I know with some of the copy I've written for my own campaigns and clients, it can honestly get up to 30% or higher as well. It just depends on the audience and the offer and how good you are as a copywriter. I think the first way to actually refine your click-through rate is just to really improve the offer itself. Make sure you talk about the features, the benefits, how it's going to change your life, help them imagine using the product, and give them a clear reason to actually click through. If the offer isn't strong, they're not going to click and really see that incentive. The second way to boost click-through rates is by addressing the customer's pain points, because seldom do people buy anything logically often it's actually very emotional, at least initially and deep down, and then they might justify it with logic later. So what you can actually do in your emails and different campaigns is really address the pain points and those symptoms the customer is experiencing, and then position the product or the offer as the solution and use a call to action to tell them to click. Number 5 is the open rate. So of course, this is going to be strictly for email campaigns. If you're doing outbound sales, email newsletters, sales emails, anything like that, you need to track the open rate, because if they don't even open the email, then they're not going to click through, they're not going to buy, and it really starts there. And it starts with a really good subject line, because Americans check their emails 1 to 3 times per day. Honestly, for a lot of us, I know myself, I'm probably checking it like a dozen different times, especially running a business. So the subject line is going to be the first thing you see, and it's just like the headline of a sales letter, an advertisement, anything else. If it's not that exciting or relevant, they're probably just going to delete the email and they'll never see the core copy and message. That's why I highly recommend with your email marketing, you always customize and personalize the subject line. Make sure you're using their first name, their last name, their company name. And this is actually proven to increase the open rate because it's really personalized and contextual for each individual person. And no matter what kind of email marketing software you're using, you can collect this kind of information with forms, and then it'll automatically pull it in when you send out a newsletter. Keep in mind that open rates tend to be between 15 and 25%, but with some of my own outbound campaigns and the ones I've written for clients, you can honestly get up to 70, 80, 90% and even higher with really good personalization. KPI number 6 is reply rate. So once again, this is primarily for email marketing, but technically if you're doing direct mail and campaigns like that, you could measure the response rate. So with the reply rate, it's essentially the people that are replying to your email or campaign. The average reply rate is 27% for email sequences that have 4 to 7 emails. So the more emails you add, typically the more responses you get, because you're just giving the person more chances to respond. If you're doing email marketing, you're only sending out 1 or 2 emails, you're probably missing out on tons of money and opportunities. Or if you're writing it for clients, they're going to be missing out on tons of opportunities. So what I highly recommend with email marketing, at least, if you want to boost the response rate, number 1, start adding more emails in the sequence. Of course, they should be sharing content and adding value and improving the reader's life. Don't just send out 4 to 7 emails for the sake of it. Every email should genuinely add some kind of value. One of the first ways to boost your reply rate is just ask a question. If you ask a question, instantly you're probing their response, and it's one of the easiest ways to boost it. But make sure you personalize it to their experiences, their problems, their needs and wants. What I also recommend is just using a strong call to action, and once again, this depends on your individual copywriting campaign, but for example, if you were trying to get meetings or someone on a phone, you could end every email with a call to action, such as, let me know a good date to hop on a call, let me know if Zoom works, something like that. And while it isn't a question, it's still a statement that leads to another conversation, which would need a reply. Copywriting KPI number 7 is average session duration. So I really like measuring this for my copywriting and specifically my content writing clients, because average session duration is how often people spend in a single session on a website. So if it's really short, then that means people are coming to the website. It might not be very relevant and contextual, and then they're leaving. But if you have a good average session duration, it means people are enjoying the content and it's high quality. Can't really generalize here. Normally a 2 to 3 minute average time on page is really good. It can go much higher, but sometimes if we're talking about a news website, a weather website, it can honestly be 30 seconds because someone's just logged on, they're reading a quick article and leaving, or they're just going to check the weather and leave. Now, blog posts in particular and blogs are notoriously known to have high bounce rates because someone's going to Google something, read that blog post, learn what they had to learn, and leave. So don't be too bummed out if you have a low average session duration or low average time on page. They're very similar. Just make sure that you're improving your copy, your content, you're improving the page speed and the user experience, which is really important, not only for content and copy, but actually sticking people on the website. And that brings me over to KPI number 8, which is pages per session. So this is going to be how many people view X amount of pages every time they're on your website. So this might be 2 to 3 on average. And the more the better, because what this signals not only to you as the business, but search engines like Google, is that someone's coming to the website, they're enjoying the content, and then they're reading another piece of content, navigating to another page and so on. And this is going to help you boost organic traffic, so it's amazing from SEO, but also just for conversions and user experience. If you have low pages per session, what I recommend you do is really audit your buyer persona and your ideal client profile, and then see if that truly matches the content and copy you're offering. Make sure the offer matches what they want, make sure you have good calls to action, good copywriting. Once again, going back to the page speed and user experience, there's dozens of things you can actually CRO and tweak in this case to make it better. KPI number 9 is bounce rate. So the bounce rate is the amount of people that come to your website and then leave without visiting another page. So it's kind of similar to the last one in a way that essentially when people come to your website, if they read that and don't navigate to anything else, that is considered a bounce. And a bounce isn't very good, but once again, depending if you're a blog, if you're a news website, a weather website, it can really change and it isn't always black and white. But as a benchmark, data has found the average bounce rate is roughly 56.6%. So if it is higher than that, it may be time to audit the quality of your content and copy. Last but not least, number 10 is going to be traffic. Now, this is something that's really important to measure if you're doing content writing and copywriting in some cases, but normally for my clients and I'll be doing SEO blog writing. Traffic's gonna be a huge thing we're measuring. But in the Lean Startup, which is an amazing book, they made a great point that traffic can actually be a vanity metric, because you can get 1 million users per year, but if it doesn't convert, then it's just vanity. It actually doesn't mean anything. It just kind of feels good to look at and to tell people and to report to your client. So technically, you could actually have way less users, maybe 100,000 a year, but be generating a lot more leads and revenue because the conversion rate's better and the other metrics I was talking about were improved. If you want to learn more about copywriting KPIs and see more examples, go into the description and read my article on copywriting KPIs. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let me know if you want to see any type of videos or topics in the comments as well, and I'll see you in the next video.